Hello everyone, this is a request video on the topic addition, subtraction and multiplication division. In this video, we will be discussing the rules of addition, subtraction and multiplication division. So let's start with the first rule. If we have a positive number and we add another positive number to it, the result is also going to be positive. So let's try an example. If we have a positive number 9 and we add another positive number to it, all we need to do is to add the two numbers and the answer is 11. This is something that we've been doing from a very young age. It's very easy for us to understand this rule. So let's try another example. We have a positive number 1 and we add 5 to it. All we need to do is to add the two numbers and the answer is positive 6. So that is the first rule. When we have a positive number and another positive number, we add both of them and the result is always positive. Let's move on to the second rule. So what is the second rule? If we have a positive number and we need to add a negative number to it, so what should be done in this case? So there's a rule we need to follow here, which I will be writing. It is very important for all students to understand this. So the rule is from the greater number, subtract the smaller number. So we need to subtract the smaller number and the answer carries the sign of the greater number, and the answer carries the sign of the greater number, carries the sign of the greater number. So that is the second rule. Let us check a few examples. So if I have a positive number and a negative number, so which is my greater number? My greater number is 5. So from 5, which is the greater number, I need to subtract the smaller number, which is 2. So when I subtract 2 from 5, I get 3. But is 3 the answer? No. Answer must carry the sign of the greater number. The sign of the greater number is negative and hence the answer must be negative. Let's look at another example. If I have 5 minus 10, once again here the greater number is 10. From the greater number we need to subtract the smaller number. 10 minus 5 gives us 5. Answer must carry the sign of the greater number and hence answer is negative 5. Let's look at another example. If I have a negative number, negative 10, and I add 12 to it, so which is my greater number? 12. From the greater number, I subtract the smaller number. 12 minus 10 gives me 2. Answer must carry the sign of the greater number. The sign of the greater number is positive and hence the answer is positive 2. So what is the operation we do for the second rule? We subtract. Let's move on to the third rule. And the third rule is, if we have a negative number and we need to add a negative number to it, the answer is going to be negative. All we need to do in this case is we need to add the two numbers and the answer carries the negative sign. Let's check a few examples. So if I have a number negative 5 and I add to it negative 3, all I need to do is to add 5 and 3, I get 8. And the sign of the answer will be negative as well. Let's check one more example. Minus 9 and minus 10. All we need to do is to add the two numbers 9 and 10, 19, and the answer carries the negative sign. So these are the three rules for addition and subtraction. Let's move on to the three rules of multiplication and division. Rule number 1. For multiplication, if we multiply a positive number by a positive number, the result is positive. And if we divide a positive number by a positive number, the result is positive. So let's check examples for both of these. We take a positive number and multiply it with another positive number. 5 times 7, that gives us 35, and the answer is positive as well. Now if we have a positive number and we divide it by a positive number, the answer is going to be positive. And again, this rule is something we've been studying from a very young age, so it's very easy for us to understand this. Let's move on to rule number 2. Rule number 2 is, if we have a positive number and we multiply a negative number to it, the answer is always negative. And if we have a positive number and we divide a negative number, the answer is always negative. Very often the students get confused between the rule for multiplication division and the rule for addition subtraction. Always remember, in addition subtraction, the answer carries the sign of the greater number. So it is uncertain what is the sign of the answer unless we check the sign of the greater number. But in case of multiplication and division, the second rule, when we multiply a positive number with a negative number, answer always has to be negative. So let's check an example. If I have a positive number 5 and if I multiply it with a negative 7, my answer is going to be negative 35. So 5 into 7 gives me 35. All I need to do is to add up the minus sign. Let's check out another example. If I have a positive number 35 and if I have to divide it by a negative number 7, and then the answer is going to be negative 5. So a positive number divided by a negative number, answer will be negative. Let's move on to rule number 3. Rule number 3 for multiplication and division is, when we have a negative number and we multiply it by a negative number, the answer is always positive. And if we have a negative number and we divide it by a negative number, the answer is always positive as well. Let's check out a few examples. If I have a negative number minus 3 and if I multiply it by another negative number minus 5, the answer will be positive 15. So a negative number multiplied by a negative number gives a positive answer. Let's check one more example. If I have a negative number minus 11 and I multiply it by another negative number minus 2, the result is going to be positive 22. So a negative number multiplied by a negative number gives a positive result. Let's check a few examples on division. So if I have a number negative 10 and if I have to divide it by a negative number negative 2, my answer will be positive 5. One more example. If I have negative 25 and if I have to divide it by a negative number minus 5, the answer is going to be positive 5.